Okay, skaters over 40. I can pretty much guarantee that at some point, if not now, your knees don't feel great most of the time.
Ah! Ah!
Skateboarding, as I keep talking about, very compressive, very impact driven, and our knees don't actually move and flex very much when we're skating unless you land in a really deep squat, which people like Sheckler and Jaws, but those of us in our 40s and 50s, we're not doing that anymore. So our knees don't tend to move very much. And one of the key principles for making sure your joints move well and feel good is getting as much blood flow to the stiff areas and around the body as possible. Because what increasing our blood flow does is it gets more oxygenated blood around our system, and every single tissue and every single joint in our body requires oxygen, especially damaged tissue. And increasing blood flow then allows the blood, once it passes through, to then take the waste products or waste tissue away from the area. So if we don't move the joints very much and get blood flow to the joints, this general stiffness, tightness doesn't really go away because we're not increasing the ability for our body to get blood flow through that joint, through the tissue and through the bones themselves. So for this, 3 movements as always. Ideally, you're going to need one of these. Well, you're going to need one of these. Doesn't really matter what thickness. The stronger, the thicker it is, the probably less reps you're going to do and the harder it's going to be. But this is more about volume than strength. We just want to, in order to get more blood flow to the area, we want quite high repetitions, quite high volume, but not particularly heavy. So we're going to use this band for one of them. This is a black one. This is one up from the red ones I use, but really useful thing to have. The other 2, you're just going to need your skateboard for one of them, and you're not going to need anything for the other. So 3 movements building on one another, and the idea is to switch on and get the muscles working around the knee joint, above the knee joint, behind the knee joint, as well as some movement through the knee to get as much blood flow to the area as possible. And after doing these 3 movements, you should feel the joint should generally feel a lot nicer. It won't stay forever, but being continuously doing movements like this is going to make sure that that blood flow stays consistent through the joints, and everything should generally feel better. So have a go at these 3 movements. Let me know how you got on with it. Check out my programs in the description. I've got one specifically for knees, one for feet and ankles, and one for hips, as well as a few other generic ones. But they're all designed to make you feel better and move better. Then the skating will generally be more enjoyable if you feel a little bit better. Improve strength, improve mobility, improve how you move, and you just feel a lot better because of that. So let me know how you get on. Pop something in the comments. Remember to follow me, because I'm going to be posting videos like this once to twice a week. Build up a nice big library of stuff that you can start doing. You're going to need minimal, if any, equipment for any of it. But for skaters over 40, it's stuff that I wish I knew over 10 years ago. I'm 51 now. I wish I knew this stuff when I was 40, because my joints and things wouldn't be in the state that they are now. Anyway, let's get on to the movements. Right, movement 1. Our knee joint, as most of us probably realise, flexes back and forth like this, or hinges. What most people don't realise is your shin bone, this bone that sits here, is designed to rotate from side to side. If that bone can't rotate or doesn't rotate very well, then how this shin moves in relation to this leg when we bend it is going to be affected. And this is when we're going to get more stiffness, tightness, maybe some pain in the ankle, maybe in the hip, because it wants to be able to rotate. So we need to rebuild that ability to rotate. So all I'm doing is my heel is on the floor. I'm going to pull my toe up slightly. What I want you to do here is almost hold onto the knee itself to prevent any movement coming from here. We don't want the knee to move, we just want the shin. So I want you to use your foot to guide it, and you should be able to feel this rotation. So I'm going to turn my foot, my ankle to the side, and I can feel that shin bone rotating outwards without my knee moving. And then I'm going to pull back in the other direction, and I can feel, if you put your finger on that kind of knobbly bit at the top there, you should feel that moving left to right. Okay, so again, you can help guide it with your hands. If it doesn't move very much, don't worry. Wrap your hands around it and help guide it with your hands. If it's really stiff, you might need a bit of assistance initially. Once you get it moving, you don't have to use your hands necessarily. you will just rotate from side to side. Okay, but this is just to allow and create more movement through that shin bone itself, which obviously then connects to the base of the knee, to free up that space to allow more movement to happen. And the more movement we can get generally, not end range movement, but that is designed to move that way. So if it doesn't, that's going to inhibit how well the knee moves. So you're looking at 10 of these, movement to the left, movement to the right equals 1. Don't go fast. Really feel that rotation happening. So 10 of those to start with, left to right. And see if we can start opening up some rotational movement through that bone there. Okay, movement 2, time to get a pump on. You're going to get your black band, wrap it around or connect it around something that's very strong, that can't move. Don't put it around a coffee table with wheels or your skateboard. So I'm wrapping it around the bottom of a very strong, heavy TV cabinet. As you can see, that's not going anywhere. You're going to take the band, place it on the back of your knee. Walk back so there's a fair bit of tension on it. Then I'm just going to let the band pull my knee forwards, but I don't want my heel to come off the floor, because as soon as my heel comes off the floor, that's a bit more ankle. We just want the band to pull forward, and then I'm going to push the back of my knee against the band to fully straighten. Okay, so I'm fully extending and locking my knee there. And then we're just going to go back and forth. And this wants to be quite fast. Think of this as you try to pump up the muscle in the front of the quad here, the front of the leg. And if you squeeze there, you can see that muscle tense up. So the sort of pace is just pumping back and forth. Make sure when you do this, and I've said this in a previous video, that you don't just shove your bum back. We want to try and push through the floor and push our knee backwards. So my whole body just goes up and down. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm not counting necessarily, but I'm starting to feel it. This is where the blood flow now is going to get pumped into that area. Because as you use the muscle, as you pump the muscle, your nervous system is like, oh right, something's happening. We need to get a load of oxygenated blood to that area, to the muscle, to allow the muscle to keep working. Okay, and you're also going to get a bit of range of motion. See, that's burning now. Okay, but you just literally pump, usually with this, anything from 30 to 50 reps, but don't necessarily count them. As long as you're getting that sensation, that burning sensation in the muscle here above the knee, that's all we're really looking to do. But this doesn't want to feel heavy and challenging. It's the repetition and the volume that's going to build up the sensation of the burning. That movement there is going to get the blood flow. What you're feeling in that kind of pump feeling is all the blood rushing to the muscles, to the tissue, because it knows it needs them in order to keep moving, and that's exactly what we want. So there's movement 2, quad pump. Okay, movement 3. Let's get pumping our hamstrings. So we pumped up the front of our leg, we've got some movement through the joint at the bottom, and now we want to get a pump through the hamstrings, the back of the leg. Hamstrings and quads, get those strong, get those moving well, and the knee is going to be well protected, because those are the big, heavy muscles, strong muscles that surround and help the knee joint move. You need your board for this one. 2 variations of this. Warning, there's a high possibility you might get a cramp in your hamstrings while doing this. Don't worry about it. It sucks, but don't worry about it. You can do a 2-footed version or a single-footed version. To be honest, you're probably better off doing this with shoes on, just because you'll have a better grip on the board. But since I've got my shoes off, I'll just do it without. So I'm going to place both my feet on the tail of the board. I'm lifting the nose off, and I'm not letting the tail touch the floor. Then I'm pushing my feet into the board, so my butt just comes off the floor. I'm not trying to get my butt as high as I can, because then that's more glutes. We want to focus on the hamstrings. So just by pushing my feet into the board whilst maintaining tail off and front wheels off, I can feel my hamstrings sort of switching on. We want to then oscillate forwards and backwards. Not a big movement, quite a small movement, back and forth. Upper body's relaxed. I'm not pressing into the floor. I'm not super stiff and tight. All this tension wants to be in the lower body. I can feel immediately, well, within a few reps, hamstrings wanting to really cramp up. For the vast majority of us, 2 feet will be more than enough. This 10 reps back and forth, or a time domain, let's say 25 to 30 seconds. But again, we're just looking to get that cramping there. If 2-footed is fairly comfortable for you and you've got sprinter-like hamstrings, then you can go single leg. That is a hell of a lot more challenging. But again, this slight oscillation, we're not trying to go as far as we can and come back as far as we can. We just want to drift back and forwards reasonably quickly, just back, forward, and that will get those hamstrings absolutely lit up. So like I said, the whole point of these 3 movements is to get that shin bone rotating, to free up some space, to then pump up the muscles above the knee, to then pump up the muscles behind the knee. And all of those movements put together is going to help free up, hopefully free up some movement through there, get a load of blood into the joint and around the joint to help with stiff, tight tissue, and just generally make the knees feel a lot better. You can do this pre-session, you can do this post-session. I wouldn't do this every day. I'd probably do this 2 to 3 times a week because you want the legs and the joints to be able to recover. But very helpful for the knees. Let me know how you get on. Drop in the comments how you find it. Share it with people who have got dodgy knees. Check out all my other programs. And yeah, I'd love to know how you find it and whether you think it helps.